Billy back here, broship of the nerds, and today I wanted to talk about some WWE releases. And I will start out by saying it's always unfortunate whenever wrestlers are released from WWE. A big problem is they have so many people on the rosters right now at NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. It's very difficult for a business, I'm sure, to have a program for everybody. And sometimes they have to cut talent. It's a business, that's the way it is. I'm going to go over the releases, kind of my thoughts on them. So we have Riley Osborne. I'm not familiar with Riley. Sorry to hear about Riley's release. Gigi Dolan, she just won a tag team match at Stand and Deliver, and you thought they were going to go somewhere with her. So, and I thought she was going to get called up to the main roster soon. So it's very surprising she was going to be released. Because what I saw of her, I liked her in the ring. I thought she had talent, but she didn't get that main spotlight yet. So it's hard to say how she would have done on Raw or SmackDown. But I don't know. I felt like she should have been given a chance. Uh, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, they were a tag team that was there. I remember both of them being athletic, but it just seemed like they struggled to know what to do with their characters, or they couldn't come up with a way for them to connect to the audiences. And that's a big thing with professional wrestling. Not only do you have to be athletic, you also have to play a character. You also have to either get a reaction from the crowd as a heel or as a face. When I saw them, it was usually in the Royal Rumble matches for the women, and they were athletic and they had some interesting moves they could pull off, but it just didn't seem like they had that connection with the audience. But it's sad to see them go. I'm sure they'll try somewhere else. Eddie Thorpe, they had just started kind of getting behind him a little bit. If I remember right, they gave him an his first NXT takeover win not that long ago. So that one's another one I'm surprised at. Shayna Baszler, a legitimate submission wrestler. Uh, just lost all of her momentum. She had in NXT, she was dominant, and she had some great matches. And I was kind of hoping that they were going to really just let her run over everybody, make them tap out and everything, and get a run with the women's championship, and then have her go on a tear until an underdog like Dakota Kai would beat her and run back the great NXT story they had. But Shayna could do it all. She had submissions. Um, they just lost momentum with her and just weren't able to get it back. And it just seemed, it's too bad because it seems like the sky was the limit with her, and they just couldn't get the timing right, or some decisions were made where they were going to have her win and then they went with somebody else. So, it's one of those where Shayna's legitimate. I've seen her videos of like doing submissions and stuff, and she can work. And I think it sucks because if they would have tweaked her character a little more and put her back to the like villain everyone loves to hate and just have her destroying the underdogs for a while, I think you could have done something with her. So that's a disappointment. Speaking of surprises, Cora Jade, um, she's one that, like an alternative girl, she has the heavy music when she comes out, good in the ring. I thought she was going to be called up soon as well, within 6 months to a year. She has some talent. The problem is they have people like Stephanie Vaquer and Julia and Roxanne Perez, and I don't know what the situation is there, so I can't really comment. I'm just surprised because it seemed like she was able to work pretty well. Braun Strowman. Now, not having a Mania match isn't always a sign if you're doing good or bad, because sometimes there's just not enough time in the day, time on the card, spots to put him in. Braun Strowman was one of those big guys. He has a personality. I've seen his like social media videos. I just wonder if they were having him play a character that he wasn't. He needed a way to get over with the audience again. And I've always enjoyed him as a performer. He's a big dude. And that run around the ring and the shoulder tackle he did was always fun. And he would pull off the drop kick on occasion. And I don't have SmackDown, I just have Netflix, so I only get to see Raw and the pay per views. But I hadn't seen Strowman since Rumble on a pay-per-view, and before that, I can't tell you when the last time I saw Braun on a major event show like that. So it just seemed like they lacked a direction for him, and I don't know why, because the guy bills himself. He's strongman, right? You just run with that gimmick, and you have him do some of the vignettes where he's weightlifting, powerlifting, and you're showing off how strong he is. I mean, he had some really fun stuff with Kevin Owens before and Sami Zayn. The guy can tell a story in the ring. It just seemed like they lacked direction for him. He wasn't getting as many programs as he should have been. The last one I'm going to say, I say this one for last because she's my favorite. From the Mae Young Classic, I've been a fan of Dakota Kai. I just felt like she stood out. She had a very easygoingness about her and connected with the audience. And I thought she had a really cool move set. And yeah, she's had a history of knee issues, but Dakota Kai, misutilized, underrated. There's so many things I want to say about her. She's my favorite women wrestler. Now it's Roxanne. But with Dakota, the thing was she had just had a really good program. She worked with Lyra to crown the first women's intercontinental champion, and they worked two hellacious matches together. She showed she could go in the ring. She had a great match with Ivy Nile not that long ago. They just changed her theme song. She wasn't getting as big of a reaction as she deserved, in my opinion. In the ring, great, one of the best. It just felt like they couldn't figure out what to do with her, and it's sad. Part of the problem too is she was a member of Damage Control. Well, Io is the Raw Women's champion, and one of the best right now. Dakota got lost in the shuffle a bit because Kyrie and Asuka are injured. So to me, they could have threw in with Bailey and had a tag team with her temporarily, have those two made up, or had her keep the singles thing going until Kyrie or Asuka got back. But it just feels like a disappointment that she never got to win a solo belt because she deserved it. She's one of the best. Like I said, her and Shayna did a really good program. I was hoping Dakota was going to be like an underdog Rumble winner or a Money in the Bank winner. It just feels like they were so close to getting her to the next level, but they just couldn't quite crack it through no fault of Dakota's. I do watch the podcast. I've seen some episodes with her and Zelina, and they're entertaining. And like I said, Dakota's one of my favorites. I could talk a long time about her, but good move set. Um, she had some unfortunate timing on her injuries, but I just don't know where you could have gone so wrong with so much talent there. Dakota's one of my favorites and still is. So hopefully wherever she goes, whether she gets to come back and they figure out what to do with her, or she goes over to one of the other companies, I wish Dakota the best because she deserves a championship wherever somewhere she goes. She's great. She just doesn't get used right, and it's a shame because that woman should be shot to the moon. She, you could give her a Rumble win, and she got injured right before Rumble, so she couldn't be in the Rumble. That hurt her. She wasn't given a Mania match. It just seems like she's so underrated. But yeah, so those are the releases, and like I said, it's sad to see, but once again, they make releases based on what they have room for on the roster, and they just have too many people. It's a problem they've had for a long time, and I just wish they would have found a way to keep Dakota because she's one that you could put in there and work with whoever you want and put on a good match. So those are my thought on the releases with Braun Strowman. Once again, big dude, former world champion for WWE, former champion. But once again, I just felt like he lacked direction. Not his fault. The guy has charisma. He has personality. He gets a reaction from the crowd. I remember the grappling hook thing where he pulled down the rafters and everything. Yeah, it just seems like the people they got rid of, um, a lot of them could have been somebody, and they just couldn't figure it out. And it happens. It happens in a lot of industries, but in wrestling, it seems to happen more. I mean, look at Baron Corbin, the guy. They could have put him back as the lone wolf, and I think he would have got over again, but they didn't. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the releases, and hopefully we don't see too many more of these. I always hate whenever we have to talk about this kind of stuff, but we do because it's part of what happens. Take care, guys.